everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Happy Freya. I'm your host, Pam Singh. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for being a part of the show. Today, I wanted to talk about a very important topic near and dear to my heart, which has to do about channeling and more specifically, talking with interdimensional beings. Now, before I get into any of that, I do want to explain some of the concepts around that because it may be new to some people. And I think it's very important to learn about some of these aspects of yourself because I consider them to be your supernatural abilities. These are your superpowers, or what I like to call your INA, your innate natural abilities. Somebody once asked me, do people have the skills to see auras? Do people have the skill set to see, and you notice how I called it skill set, right? Because in one shape, way, or form or another, people can perceive information through different realities. This is why two people walking down the same street are going to have a different experience. Everybody's day is different. How that person wakes up is different. It's according to that individual's preferences, needs, and performance. So when I talk about channeling, I'm not only just talking about connecting with interdimensional beings or guides, or what I like to call them, galactic friends and your galactic family members, because Earth is definitely a larger part of the cosmos than what we've initially perceived it to be in our evolutionary growth of humanity. And perhaps even in ancient times, they were more aware of it, of the stars and our star nations and our star sisters and brothers, than we've had in the current moment. But now we're relearning a lot of these things again in a new way. And I think that's important. And I think that should be celebrated. So when looking at channeling, it's not only in addition of, okay, well, what interdimensional being or who or whatever energies or entities am I talking about with? Because we're multidimensional beings, but I'll get into that later. What I'm talking about is channeling is in the sense of, okay, when I'm downloading this information, I'm channeling it, right? When you see a sports performer playing on the soccer field, they're channeling their best self, their best performance. When you see an artist paint a masterpiece on a canvas, they're channeling those colors, how they work, how they create dimension, how they create depth, right? That's channeling. When you see an actress perform on stage, she is channeling a character, okay? So that is my broad definition of channeling. If we look at the kind of origins in the spiritual context or the community of what channeling is, again, it may have been like communicating with different energies and entities. Now, how I define that, interdimensional beings, is, and I won't get into too much detail about this now, but I just say the one fractioned itself in order to experience itself. And we are a fraction. We are but a fraction of that one. We are the extension of that one. Call that one source, call that one infinite intelligence, whatever it is you want to call it God, whatever it is for you, unconditional love, be that for you, right? So I'm going to call it source infinite intelligence. So I just call it the one, honestly, at times. But so the one fraction itself in order to experience itself. And we are kind of like the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the five senses of the extension of that one. We also house a persona, an identity, or a self. The energy or the entity that calls itself I am Pam is a persona that is channeled, hence a personality. And I won't get into what do you call like Enneagrams or personality test or those kind of things and INTPJs, whatever, all those other kind of things too. Because now we're starting to connect with star galaxies, constellations. People also connect with their zodiac, their planet, right? What's the energy of a planet? What's the energy of a Jupiterian or somebody from, the energy of the planet Jupiter? Because even the Schumann resonance for these planets are different, right? Each planet hums a different song. And so the inhabitants of those planets carry that hum within their heart. With that being said, when you're connecting with interdimensional beings, you're connecting with an aspect of yourself, okay? Because anytime you come in relation with another being or individual, be it human, be it humanoid, be it an interdimensional being, or be it somebody from Earth, not only are you looking at an aspect of yourself, but they're looking at an aspect of themselves. When you channel IDBs, and I call them IDBs for short, interdimensional beings, when you start channeling that energy, and it depends on the channeler how he or she wishes to do that, but you're translating vibratory information in the form of thought and translating it into a word, in this case, of the English language. Some beings produce sound. Some beings do more thought forms, thought waveforms. Some beings work with you on an energetic level. Some beings also are known to be healers, and they work with humanity on healing the planet. Some beings, I would like to call them scientists. They are the inventors. Honestly, different beings, and I don't want to categorize all beings, but different consciousness of beings have different interests as well, just like we have interest here on Earth. And so sometimes those preferences of those interests carry with them. So if you're somebody who is like scientifically minded, perhaps you connect more with your interdimensional guides, beings, spirit guides, or friends who are more scientifically inclined to help you and assist you with research or with inventions. If you're somebody who's more like artistic, then I would like to say, as the symbol that they're giving me now, it's almost like the infinity symbol. So it's about connecting your left and right brain and what people call whole brain thinking or all brain thinking or whatever it is, like you're creative and you're analytical. We hear psychologists and people talk about this, is to connect both aspects of your hemispheres, right? And have them talking to each other. Yes, sometimes, it's kind of like your right hand, left hand in the sense of, you have a preference. All I'm asking is that if you're somebody who's scientifically more inclined, or if you're more let's just say logic inclined instead, then perhaps this might be a bit of a stretch for you. But I'm asking you, challenging you, if you could look at the artistry of your art form, look at the artistry of your practice, look at the artistry of yourself. I encourage you to paint. I encourage you to draw. I encourage you to take up photography. I encourage you to, this is like in general practices, for both right and left brain dominant thinking people, whichever it is, to build more coherence between the two spheres. Honestly, it almost seems like sometimes, I know we go online, we hop online. There are a lot of views out there, different, point of views. And it's nice to build some sort of integration between both fields so that neither is in a silo of the other. I know, when I work with certain guides and, there are people who are healers, and they will start downloading and gathering vocabulary on different areas of the body. What are the functions of the organs? In a holographic universe, there, I kind of just turn to a page and then I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn today? So I don't really read all of it at once. Most of the time I don't. But I'm like, what do I need to learn today? I turned to a chapter of a doctor in Alberta who could see auras. And a lot of people in the medical field could see it, but it wasn't as outspoken because I guess some people saw that as taboo, which is completely weird to me. That's weird to me. So they would notice energetically what was happening in the body first. And then that would serve as their insight of what was going on internally. And some would get the messages before the scan was given. And they would diagnose it before a scan was given and they were correct. So with that being said, trust your instinct, trust your intuitive abilities, and utilize science if you want in that case to verify or show, hey, you know what? Utilize it in your practice. There's a woman who uses tuning forks to gather not gather, but to read energy around the body when people come to our practice for treatments. There's going to be new science. There's going to be new ways of presenting information. So what I want to talk about there, and what I'll touch upon in my courses as well, is how to utilize your 5 senses. And I know people talk about the 6th sense, but we haven't even dived into our 5 yet. And I'm not talking about just putting your hand on a table and touching something, the sensory of touch, or to look outside the window and to see. No, I'm talking about activating a deeper portion within yourself that's already there, waking up the giant, who can see beyond the veil, who can see the auras, who can see the energies. Okay? So we have, to see, to touch, to feel, to taste, to smell. Okay? Those are all sensory perceptors given as information to the biological body to transmute and transform this information into an experiential reality. When we look at, for example, to see, I'm going to touch upon that. So when I work with my guides, in assistance with them, and I call upon my interdimensional beings, my higher self, and honestly, my worthiness of bringing about this information to the world for the betterment of humanity and society, to integrate the spiritual realm, the spiritual world with the physical, materialistic, or however else you want to put it, to not create a separation, but an integration. When I integrate this knowledge of, for example, just to see, I could be sitting with a client, or you could be sitting with somebody and maybe you could see energy forms. Maybe you see images in your head, right? Specifically with clients, and I know people do that, and they'll ask a question and different images are given, right? And then as a channeler, it's your performance or your job to translate that information the best way you can for the client to make better informed decisions in his or her life, in his or her business, relationship, family, whatever it is, or to be more informed reality builders, right? To create a world and a life that they want to be more a part of, that they have more resonance with. Because there's a lot of cosmic dissonance in the world, but resonance will always hold the highest hierarchy, in my sense, if there ever was a hierarchy. But that's what I mean. I'm not going to touch too much on every one of the 5 senses, but touch is probably one of the most powerful senses because it has to deal with your root chakra. It has to deal with being grounded to earth, hugging a tree, walking barefoot in the forest, giving your loved ones hugs, and because we don't do it as much with tech, because tech is almost replacing the sensory of touch, and that can be a bit alarming, I would say, because that touch aspect is a very important. I don't even want to say it's important. I think we know it's innate that it can't be replaced. It's actually one of the most powerful tools we have on this planet. It builds bonds, right? Hug a friend. It builds friendship, right? You release endorphins when somebody comforts you, right? That cannot be replaced through technology. I wanted to get into a little bit of interdimensional beings and the excitement of that, because once you do start to channel, you'll receive images. Sometimes that may even seem like memories. Maybe you'll parallel reality travel and take yourself to other places of the cosmos. That's super fun. Or maybe you'll enter into a dream sequence, I like to call them. I call them dream sequences where you're co-dreaming with other interdimensional beings. And many times these interdimensional beings come with messages. And honestly, sometimes warnings for humanity. There comes a point in your channeling practice that you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have made contact with another entity, energy, or being that is not, I'm not going to say not of yourself because we're all one, but you know that that energy is an autonomous being, an autonomous sentient thought form other than yourself. Now imagine that perspective. Imagine connecting with that perspective of the cosmos and what unique expression that sentient being has, in addition to what you have living your life here on Earth, the value that we have living here on Earth, and interchanging that information, interchanging those lessons learned. It's done through telepathic communication through the heart. That's what I call telepathy, telepathic communication through the heart. And so when the heart is involved in communication, I like to say it has nothing to do with speed, but it has to do with transformation. And a transformation takes place in your heart center, and it leaves an imprint. And that imprint cannot be replaced or ignored. It is something that connects us all, right? The elastic string that connects us all. And empathy and compassion and understanding are the rudimentary blocks of that string that connect us all. I know we favor a lot our thought forms, but if it's not in conjunction with our feeling center, your thoughts can lose its guidance, because it's just thoughts can be given in any way frivolously to go out there and play. That's the beauty of thoughts as well. But when you connect that with your heart center, and especially with imagination, and with the intent and integrity for the betterment of humanity and society, the best way that you possibly can, now you're dealing with magic. So imagine that intention when you involve yourself in an interaction not only here on Earth, but on a galactic level. Imagine connecting with other beings from other solar systems, other galaxies. What unique gifts do they have? What can they teach us? And what can I teach them? And what can we interchange as information for the benefit of all parties involved, the best way that we can and know how? So I leave you with that. I think it's just a calming way of kind of looking at our perspective of who we are and where we fit in the cosmos of things, to allow love to intervene as much as possible instead of fear and paranoia, and to allow yourself to be informed, to build relationships and friendships that are on an intergalactic level. And I'll end it off with one story here. One of my guides, actually I have a few of them, and I don't call them guides sometimes, I call them my friends. And I'll tell you why. Because when I say the one fraction itself in order to experience itself, I know that the persona that I love so endearingly, called Pam I Am, that the persona called Pam also simultaneously has other personas at the same time, which are autonomous to me, okay? And what I mean by multi-dimensional beings is that we actually embody and encompass our higher self, embodies and encompasses all personas at once. That's why there's no such thing as a past or a future, or yet there is, because it all kind of exists. I know words are kind of tricky, okay? So just hang with me here, okay? So they all simultaneously exist at once. And all that information of the personas, every lesson learned, every joy, every sadness, every madness gets pulsated up, I like to call it, to the mothership. And this mothership holds a conglomerate of data and information, and it kind of sifts through all this information. And the mothership is in and of itself, the higher self, we'll call it. I say mothership because that's what flows for me. that archetype, some people might call it, houses all the secrets of all those entities and informations that call themselves Pam I Am, Bob, Carol, Steve. Like all these different personas and names are housed within that multidimensional self. So when we connect with that, and we connect with different knowings and perspectives, we can literally shift the state of our consciousness into broader perspectives, into a broader knowing. We can be in the most minute molecular structure of a flower, and we can expand ourselves in the prisms and cosmos, the chasms of space as well. I think when we know that and we carry that sense of knowing, there is something unshakable in that knowing. There's something extremely powerful in that knowing. And so connecting with IDBs, interdimensional beings, my cosmic friends, definitely, and I endearingly call them my friends, definitely changes my perspective and views on the world. Imagine somebody who can see energies once they've transitioned through the death experience, right? The sense of death is the concept of death is very different for that individual. And I think the concept of death is also going to change for humanity. Even though a lot of people don't want to talk about it, it's something that is inevitable. No matter how long people try to, it's not even about postponing it or anything like that. It's just, we have bodies and energies that live as long as we want to take it. So when I have interdimensional beings check in on me, I literally do have individuals, IDBs, that come in and they'll say, like, they're excited to see Pam, but they know that the Pam that's there is also the other energy or entity that was elsewhere. And so when they're seeing that Pam, they're connecting also knowing that that's Pam. They acknowledge that. But what I get sometimes is, oh my gosh, there you are. You're here now. Oh, you're playing this role. And like the great Shakespeare actors of the world, life is but a stage. I think poetry holds some pretty strong universal truths. And so when you go with that perspective in your knowing, in your day changes. And I know a lot of people are going through things right now. The whole world is going through a great cosmic shift right now. Talked about it earlier in earlier episodes as well. Hang in there. Be gentle with yourselves. Be honest and be kind. And have fun for this ride that we're on. From what I see, there is no such thing as death. Death is an illusion. It's a transitionary, transformational state. And as a channeler, I acknowledge that. I know it. I have clients, I have people come in. Previously, I don't do it anymore, but I've had messages, tell my son, I love him, I'm so proud of him. And there's different symbols that energy or entity who played the role of mother to that son will show me an image of the role that they played when they came here and said, tell them this, right? Because there was a bond, and the bond is created through the heart center. And I don't believe not even time itself can break those bonds. That's why we're interdimensional beings and we are connected through the heart center. And we are just learning about our heart center, and we're learning about how to build better thoughts through the art of imagination to construct a better world for us to live on here today. Anyway, thank you for gifting me the most valuable illusion of all, your time. Not your time, but time itself. But thank you for gifting me your time today. And stay tuned for more cosmic episodes as we have some amazing guests And I do believe some panel discussions coming on soon. And drop me a message if there's any topics that you would like to hear, or any guest that you would like to see on the show. Have a beautiful day and enjoy yourselves. Bye.